Okay, so hello again. We're getting down, really getting down towards the end of this now, and we're talking to right now about the responsibility matrix first of all. So again, usual story. Responsibility matrix is akin to what was in the E. Williams spreadsheet in terms of this is what we do, this is what the customer does, this is what somebody else does, and so on. It's completely editable by us, and this is the way in which we do it. So remembering, if the box isn't ticked, there's no responsibility matrix, or it just defaults. If it's ticked, then and I'll do this now, the responsibility matrix will deal with. So here's how we're how this is. So I'll go through it line by line. Very straightforward, of course. It is access. So we are specifically talking there about the access products, and those are scaffolding, netting, any other sort of like specific access items. In fact, I'll take that back. It's not scaffolding. It's any other specific access items that are required there. We'll show the responsibility. It's all defaulted here to who's responsible for what. Here it's going to be responsible for SolarSense will be responsible for it. The option would be to make the client responsible for it. So I don't know what access specifically would be, but if access was, I don't know, you'll have a better idea than me. If the client's responsible for that, then you would change that to them. System design, almost certainly that will be us. But again, if it was them, you change that. Structural assessment. Scaffolding's a big one, isn't it? Because sometimes you'll do a job and you will not have included scaffolding in that, but on other occasions you will. It's defaulting to SolarSense. So again, if you have a client who is taking care of their own scaffolding, you absolutely need to make that clear by changing the drop down there to client. That's really, really important. Risk assessment, of course we do. It's our lads who are working there, so we absolutely have to be aware of the risk assessment method statement, and also the site health and safety. The building control application, we will of course do that. So when we notify at the end of the job that we have connected a PV system or whatever building control is required, typically isn't, I believe, it on the bigger systems, but certainly on the smaller ones it will be. DNO application, we're going to do that. Now, interestingly, some of these things you're going to say, well, hang on, that clashes with what's in the that clashes with what's in the feasibility study. Well, sometimes we won't do a feasibility study. We'll go straight into a job which will include some of those things. So here's an opportunity for us to clarify that. So DNO application, we will typically be the ones doing that, but if we're not, we change that to client. DNO works. Okay, so we would take that to mean DNO says yes, you can have a DNO for your system, but we'll need you to do £20,000 worth of upgrade works. Well, we ain't taking care of that. So again, you change that. That becomes the client. That's the client's responsibility. Offloading distribution. That's all about the getting stuff delivered. Installation and supply of the equipment. That's typically us. Installation and supply, AC cable and containment. So this again is important, isn't it? Because if we are installing as far as the inverters and no more, then, and I'm told that comes up from time to time, then I would say that the client is responsible for that. So you would choose client there. If we are going all the way to the distribution board, okay, and we're taking care of that stuff, then I would say that's probably our area of responsibility. So you're going to not change that. Final connection, again, is it us? Is it them? DC containment, usually it's going to be us, isn't it? Generation meter, almost always that's going to be us. Waterproof cable entry, I'm sure that probably means a hockey stick or whatever. That's probably going to be us. But in any of these, the client is saying, I'll tell you what, I'll do that because we're doing some roof works, or I'll do that because we're doing this, that, the other, then you would simply change that. Lightning protection, you'll see this is the one here which is defaulted to be excluded because we are never going to do lightning protection until until we have a situation where the client is insisting that we do it and we undertake to do it and we charge for it, in which case we change that to us. Export meter, we're saying SolarSense. Personally, I disagree with that because I think export meter, we don't always provide the export meter, but I guess it's where where that's been agreed, we do. RWG tenant billing, if that's in there, but again, it could be none. In fact, if there is none included, you would change that. We can't change that actually. Not sure. Oh yes, we can. There we go. So again, export meter. The client may take care of that. That would be a none. you know your client, you know what's included in this, and remembering that wherever you add stuff in, okay, in this responsibility matrix, a corresponding product must be added. This can't be mandated with CPQ as it is, but maybe that's something we could look at when Jess is back, is trying to help using this responsibility matrix to mandate some extra products. These are all voluntary products at the moment, so you'll have to remember to do it. Remote monitoring, I've chosen none there, but you know that's typically something that we set up. But of course, we're not going to do the remote monitoring, so it's important to explain that, isn't it? That what we're going to do is set them up with the ability to do that, but we aren't necessarily going to do that ourselves. Commission and sign off, again, if we do the electrics, we typically do that. If we do the if they do the electrics and we sign off the PV system, then we'll do that, but we're only going to do that. We're going to do the sign off for the bits that we've done. MCS registration, again, where applicable, we will do that, so we'll certify it. Workmanship guarantee, we include that. The handover documentation, we'd expect to do that, and then the O&M quote and the O&M and so on, that's our responsibility. But again, it's important that this isn't included without there being a price for that. So CONM package offer. Now, in a lot of these cases, I'm going to guess that we can change what the default setting is, because we've got it up here, the default here being set to client. Okay, so if you have strong feelings about any of these, that you and your colleagues, not just you on your own, because we can't do it for Alex but then not do it for Warren and vice versa. Okay, if you have strong feelings about this in your discussions with your colleagues, and you would like us to change those things, then you can probably speak to Russell or speak to me or somebody, and what we can do is we can then discuss ways in which we can change the default setting on these. But for now, the default settings I believe to be right, but you just need to check them in every single case. If you disagree with the default settings, then let me know. Let Russell know. We can look into kind of maybe making that change. Okay, so there we go. That's the responsibility matrix, and I'm going to end the video at this point. But that's how you would do that. Again, all very straightforward, but it has to be reviewed and it has to be checked to make sure that we are doing all the things that we say we're doing, and that where we are doing them, that we are definitely charging for them. Don't assume that just because it's preset like this, that these things are in. RG tenant billing, that's a big one. We're saying here that SolarSense is doing that. My view is that SolarSense isn't doing that, sorry, unless there is a specific product added. So that might be one thing that you object to. For example, you might say, hang on, that should not be SolarSense's responsibility. Default, it should be either the client's responsibility or it should be none. You let me know if you think we should change that. But remember, if I change it for one, I change it for all. So this is something you need to discuss amongst yourselves before you discuss with me or Russell. Okay, I'll stop the recording there now, and thanks very much.